Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and here I come to you live from the sunny Santa Ponza. As you can see, it's absolutely stunning. Buzzing to be here. Fantastic. Let's talk about Celtic, shall we? If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be very much appreciated. Your support has been magnificent over the past few weeks. We're almost at 45,000 subscribers, so let's get as close to 50k as we can this year. The buttons are absolutely free. You know how it works by now. It would be much appreciated. I may as well address the elephant in the room. I haven't been spreading you lies telling you I was going on my holidays just to come out and give you an Undertaker type return today. And no, I've not dragged the loft off to the Isle of Mallorca. My flight got cancelled. I was sitting there, Prestwick Airport, on Friday night for a grand total of, 6-7 hours. And the flight was cancelled with no option to fly out the next day. So, awaiting the refund. I'm here in the lovely Glasgow, where the weather, as you all know, has been nothing short of radiant. And yes, I'm absolutely fuming. But I'm going to try and get through it. So, there's no point in me sitting taking a couple of days off when there's stuff to talk about. Yes, it's gutting, all the rest of it. But back into talking about Celtic, I'll get away again at some point. It's not that big a deal. I swear. So not much has happened since I was scheduled to go away from our conversations on Friday night. A couple of little stories that we can go over. The manager has also commented on the striking department at Celtic and his ambitions for that position. But aside from that, nothing groundbreaking. However, a couple of wee things to update you on, which all starts with Matt O'Riley, because last night we heard via Fabrizio Romano that Atalanta had come in with their next bid for our Danish sensation, one that still is miles off the mark from what we as Celtic fans would expect for him. So Fabrizio Romano tweeted this last night, saying that Atalanta have sent their new bid for Matt O'Riley worth 17 to 18 million euros. Celtic want more as a club, sources confirm, but negotiations are underway to make it happen. So a very disappointing follow-up. I believe this is Atalanta's third bid now for Matt O'Riley, and it's still one that's way off the mark for the player. We had higher bids for Matt O'Riley in the January transfer window, if reports were to be believed, and this one is just nowhere near the number that the club are looking for. Neither we should accept. You know, it's as simple as this. That offer comes in, Celtic say no. If you're wondering what the maths is over to Great British pounds, the pound sterling, well, you're looking at 17 to 18 million euros being roughly 14.3 million pounds to 15.2 million pounds. So you're talking top end, roughly 15 million. It's just nowhere near. It's still a good 10 million pounds below the opening discussion point. I think 25 million is the absolute minimum Celtic should be getting for Matt O'Riley, let alone the ideal price. So Atalanta still way off the mark when it comes to getting Matt O'Riley. If that is their best offer upon their third offer, I don't have any hopes that their next one is going to be what Celtic want either. I think that Atalanta could probably consider themselves out of the race for Matt O'Riley this summer if this is the region that they're wanting to work in. Fabrizio Romano obviously made it clear in his tweet that Celtic want more as a club. Negotiations are underway to make it happen. I just don't think those negotiations will last very long if that's the number they're playing around in. Which means we will have Matt O'Riley for a little bit longer. He, of course, captained the side against DC United on Saturday, but I don't think that he'll be off to Atalanta anytime soon. But Atalanta, of course, not the only interested club, because according to the Daily Record, Celtic could expect a much better and much more acceptable offer soon from English Premier League side Southampton. This is what the Daily Record had to say. They said that Southampton are reportedly ready to quote-unquote push the boat out to snap up Celtic star Matt O'Riley and smash the Scottish transfer record. Record Sport revealed that Russell Martin is a big fan of the midfielder, and they're preparing a £20 million bid for the man this summer. However, the Sunday Mirror is now reporting that the English Premier League side are ready to eclipse Celtic's record sales in the region of £25 million for Kieran Tierney and Jota. It is also noted that Brighton are showing an interest in the midfielder. So a much more respectable and acceptable number for Celtic to talk about should Southampton come in with this bid. As I said, it was the Sunday Mirror who are reporting they're ready to go upwards of £25 million and break the record up here in Scotland. That's what we've been talking about all summer if Matt O'Reilly is to go. And listen, I don't want Matt O'Reilly to go, and I think in an ideal world you'd keep him next season and he'd be your star man to take you forward into a new Champions League format, into competing for a treble, to make it 4 in a row. You want to keep Matt O'Reilly around, but realistically in this modern age, players want to move on. Celtic are the stepping stone club, and you might not think that Southampton is a glamorous move, especially because they've just been promoted from the Premier League, but they're playing some exciting football under a new and young manager in Russell Martin. They are obviously ambitious in keeping themselves in the Premier League after a lengthy stint in the Premier League previously. And of course, you look at Virgil van Dijk, who went there, ended up advancing his career to the point he's at now, one of the greatest centre-halves in Premier League history. Look at Victor Wanyama, who got his big money move to Tottenham Hotspur following his time at Southampton. Fraser Forster, who was number 1 for Southampton for many a year. Southampton has generated, and that's just Celtic players. You look at, your Sadio Manes as well, for example, your Morgan Schneiderlins, who got a big move. Players have went to Southampton and used that as the further stepping stone to take them to the top 6. And Matt O'Reilly will know that's a possibility. So should they come in with this bid that is in the region of £25 to £30 million that we're hearing, I think it could be cheerio to Matt O'Reilly, sadly. We'll keep you updated as it progresses. We know that Atalanta are still in and about Matt O'Reilly. Southampton soon to be, if reports are believed. Brighton monitoring the situation. Of course, there still are clubs on the outside we've not heard about for a little bit. Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, a couple of others. The race might only be heating up. So a couple of weeks' time when the season kicks off, it might not be here. But we need that acceptable bid to come in first, and we'll report it as soon as it happens. It's no secret that Celtic have faced criticism in regard to their transfer window this summer. It was only last week that the club finally made their first signings of the window, both in the form of goalkeepers with Phil Yamison-Salo and Kasper Schmeichel, and apart from them, we haven't made one outfield signing yet. We haven't made a signing at all outside those two, and it has been frustrating for Celtic fans as we wait to improve this squad. Paulo Bernardo should be joining very, very soon, as we know, and Adam Ida is at a bit of a standstill, but Brendan Rodgers has commented on the striker situation and made it abundantly clear that he thinks 3 is the magic number when it comes to strikers. This was his comments in the Daily Record during the USA tour. He says, "I'm really hopeful every day. We know we need to improve the squad. We want to develop, but in the meantime, whilst we await that, you can see the players here are developing well, working well, and they're playing some fantastic football at the pre-season stage." I think the ideal scenario was to have 3 strikers, to have Kyogo, one other one, and bring through a young player. That was the role we came up for Rocco Vata. It's very difficult for a club of this size to have 3 number 1 strikers. You can live with 2 because we play so many games, and the specific nature of the games, then we can change it about. 3 is very difficult, but I also think for the development, I want to bring someone in young, maybe a player from within. Rocco was that, but he has moved on. So not necessarily 3 strikers in the sense of 3 recognisable, ready to go starting players, but 3 different options, one being Kyogo, the other 2 possibly being Adam Ida and a younger player. The problem is the Adam Ida deal is at a bit of a standstill. It's become a stalemate in negotiations between Norwich and Celtic, and the question is now being asked amongst Celtic supporters, should we just move on? We can't wait all summer to try and get Ida through the door. So this week has to be the week in which a deal is agreed. I think if we get to Friday and Celtic haven't come to an agreement with Norwich, we need to move on to our next targets. And that is devastating to say because I really want Adam Ida to sign. But you can't wait about, and you've got to prioritise the football club at the end of the day. So yeah, I think we will hear news about that this week. Celtic will probably move back in with an improved offer on that initial £4.5 million. But if it's not accepted by Norwich, I think it's time to move on. So we'll wait and see what happens this week. But it does raise the question of who will be that third striker that Rodgers wants. Will he give up on that project for the time being? Or will we maybe evaluate out with Celtic to find a young striker out there who could possibly be a further option? We need quality though. I think if Ida's deal falls through, I think that the third choice can wait for a while. The priority is getting in a quality option beside Kyogo. I think we need to bring in somebody who scores goals, who's got a proven track record, who's played at a high enough level, and somebody who's going to be there to fill the boots should Kyogo be injured or isn't playing well. You can't have dross. So that's the priority right now. Brendan might want his third option, but there's other areas we need to focus on first. But some interesting comments from the manager. And final story for today was one that popped up very, very quietly on social media over the weekend. An Italian publication, Gianluca Di Marzio, reporting that Celtic are interested in Venezia midfielder Tanner Tessman. They said that Tanner Tessman will not be joining Inter Milan after initial negotiations broke down. They've not been able to reach an agreement with the player. However, there are teams involved and looking at the player, including Torino, Parma and Como. Celtic and Brentford from abroad are also considering a move for the American midfielder, a name that I have not been familiar with in the past, but Inter Milan, a deal breaking down there. If he's good enough for a move to Inter, then surely that spells more than good enough for a move to Celtic. Following the breakdown of this almost certain move to Inter Milan, it has put clubs on alert. However, it is just gossip from Italy. Don't read into it too much as of yet, but it is something worth keeping an eye on. An American central defensive midfielder, which would be good reinforcement in that area of the park. He played 42 times for Venezia last season, scoring 7 goals in the process. He's been there since 2021, previously played for FC Dallas in the MLS. Currently valued at €7 million on Transfermarkt. Looks like he has the qualities of a top player at the age of only 22. That obviously reflected in the potential move to Inter Milan, but contract talks broke down. He couldn't come to a contractual agreement. Just keep an eye on where this one goes. He's apparently on alert for the clubs interested, Celtic reportedly one of them. So Tanner Tessman, remember the name, but don't get too carried away. So that about does it for today. Sorry if it's a bit rushed and a bit downbeat from myself as usual. My holiday being cancelled has put quite the dampener on my weekend. I thought I was going to have a couple of days off for making the videos, so it took me willpower to really work up and talk about it, you know. I sound so pathetic. I sit in my arse and talk about Celtic. I'm a blessed human being. But no, I'm back. Videos will continue as normal all through the week. Of course, I was meant to be back on Wednesday, but I'll be here today. I'm here tomorrow. Business as usual, and hopefully a lot to talk about in the transfer world as the week goes on. We're getting so close to the start of the season as well, of course, so we'll wait and see how that goes. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts, like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you all next time.